Hello guys, I'm Rave and today we are going to talk about the latest Major Hydra update. I think many of you have taken it in a flip, although in fact everything is not so clear. I mean, let's say I'm quite happy with it. Yes, some things have become more difficult, some new players have a harder time, they don't get the same results they had and they get less rewards. But who said that this is a bad thing? And now we are going to analyze all aspects and some small things. The first one, what changed in Hydra besides the fact that the battle became shorter by a third. You can check how damage changed since the update, like before the patch Thor was quite competitive with Acrisia and Aterion. Now this ratio has changed a lot in favor of damage dealers with damage from max HP, like the same Acrisia, Aterion, the popular one Marius, and the old meta damage dealers doing less damage on life heads, especially dead ones. So a large amount of damage dealers, even some epics, could do lots and lots of millions of damage to a silvered head. And if you add hex to this team, what damage grew to colossal values whenever a crit or another champ with damage from max HP limited to 10% head health, even dead ones. Here and now the champs are good at dealing with life heads as well. If life heads die faster, then there is more time for dead heads, on which you can do more damage. The next statement, namely, why is an update like this a good thing? First, I will say one note. Of course, I feel sorry for all the people who at least spent a lot of resources and money to get Tunda to awaken it to 6 stars, who spent a lot of time optimizing comps with Vixel, for example, like Gallogen, basically, who made it just for the sake of it. But what we have is what we have. Most of the cheese strategies have been fixed, almost all comps have decreased in damage. And now let's move on to why this update is good for me and my teammates. Probably the first thing that comes to my mind is skill issue. With the new patch, manual damage and auto damage will differ even more than they did before, because now every team menu requires not only maintaining the pack's optimized rotation, like not giving some skills like block buffs to dead heads, holding some useful skills or buff, but also now we need to optimize the damage deal to get competitive result. We need dead heads to appear in teams, which is quite a challenge unless you play with Tosher or have hit over 1 billion damage the update. Why? Because my team hitting 700 million full auto, and while beating in this week after the update, I noticed that I'm having a hard time hitting damage evenly and just doing enough damage for say 10 million HP of dead head suffering. To somehow wake them up together, and it all waves together into this huge lump where we need to focus certain heads first, let's say the fattest one, so what the same suffering head dies first, so that we knock some of their overheads and we can somehow resurrect them together. So what we have for that coming out heads with only one will be buffed. I think whales and super late game players like the same Gallogen, who beat quite FTP champs with a lot of damage, will cope with this task, and so for everyone with a huge motivation, especially for people who used to hit the maximum chest or 6.5 million damage. And so for everyone with a huge motivation, especially for people who used to hit the maximum chest or the maximum chest on Hydra Clash, because now we will hit much less. And so for everyone with a huge motivation, especially for people who used to hit the maximum chest or maximum Hydra Clash chest, because now we will hit much less. And let's deal with the third point. What do I do if my damage has dropped or the usual strategies don't work? You are hitting the first Hydra with Eternity teams and keying off the third and fourth one, or you are hitting with a Vixel pack. I guess the answer is simple and there can be no other. What's optimization issue? Without the increasing amount of HP per champ consumption, the biggest problem was surviving on Hydra. Now it's more important than ever to increase your damage per turn. When people who used to hit a few damage because now they hit even less, because they simply can keep up with knocking out champions. I let's say didn't reach the limit because my damage dealers couldn't do enough damage in one turn to knock out hero from suffering head. Why wasn't there a reduction in reward requirements? You say like the same teams have become more difficult, but the rewards have not changed. It's unfair. But there is a quite simple explanation. Raid is, first of all, a multiplayer game in which most of the content is created for PvP battles. I think it would be easy to explain why. Like pinpoint and stone skin sets are more about different kinds of arenas, so therefore, with the new Hydra equally affected all players. Just for a person who used to beat, as I did, 3.5 to 4 billion and began to beat 1.5, not much has changed. The numbers just went down, but the rewards are the same. And for the weaker people it has become a problem, as it seems to me and my teammates there is nothing in it for the person who for one reason or another hits more gets better rewards. Because to be honest, the most fair would be a system in which the ranking of rewards would take into account the damage of every single player in a raid. For example, Oven on Ziggy account hit 9 and something billions. Sorry, 900 billion. The game doesn't reward him in any way, although in theory it should. But so it would give him an advantage. He would in 1 week gear up every champion on his account. So I think it's normal that all the players dropped a result, but because someone beat worse or did not want to develop, now the rewards for him or for them became less. Also, outside the video plan, I would like to touch on a couple of points, namely such small things that people for some reason do not perceive or do not think about them. The idea that Krakens and whales, the richest people who have nowhere to spend their money, will have it very easy. Take the same Toshova, overpowered champion before Unrock came along. He was the best and he was in the comps. Toshova have defense and parasite debuffs all the time. Because of what his damage is scaled, spread out and deal billions of damage. I think Vanya about to bring you some record, anyone with him. How does it work now? Toshura lands his debuffs and deal damage like with any skill, either A1 and Deadhead, reappear into the living one, and with this block damage debuff. And this Toshura as a single damage dealer did not have time to keep his debuffs on heads, meaning packs, meaning cops, meaning teams of this format don't work anymore. I think someone already got beaten and instead of some 2 or 3 times damage reduction, guys got 5-10 quite. Therefore for average player quite normal. In general, that's all I wanted to say. All in, that's it. Good luck everyone. Bye bye.